Hello students, welcome to EPZ Pathshala. I am Dr. Suresh Kumar Turka from Government College Bheria, Pihova, Kurukshetra. Today we are going to discuss on the topic cross-cultural communication of the paper International Human Resource Management. Dear students, after completing this module, you will be able to understand the meaning and features of communication, to know about the importance of communication, to understand verbal and non-verbal communication and its style, to discuss about the barriers in communication across cultures. In this introductory section, we are going to discuss about cross-cultural communication. Cross-cultural communication has become strategically important to companies due to the growth of global business, technology and the internet. Understanding cross-cultural communication is important for any company that has a diverse workforce or plans on conducting global business. This type of communication involves an understanding of how people from different cultures speak, communicate and perceive the world around them. It is important for employees to understand the factors that are part of an effective diverse workforce. Cross-cultural communication in an organization deals with understanding different business customs, beliefs and communication strategies. Language differences, high context versus low context cultures, non-verbal differences and power distance are major factors that can affect cross-cultural communication. In individualistic culture such as the United States, Canada and Western Europe, an independent figure or self is dominant. This independent figure is characterized by a sense of self relatively distinct from others and the environment. Then we are going to discuss the meaning and various features of communication. The word communication has been derived from the Latin word communis, which means common. Thus, communication means sharing of ideas in common. When we communicate, we are trying to establish commonness with someone. That is, we are trying to share information, an idea or an attitude. The essence of communication is getting the receiver and the sender turned together for a particular message. Communication is the process of passing information and understanding from one person to another. This is the definition which is given by the Keith Davis. According to Shorter Oxford English Dictionary, communication means the imparting, conveying or exchange of ideas, knowledge, etc., whether by speech, writing or signs. Communication takes place when one person transfers information and understandings to another person. It refers to the exchange of ideas, feelings, emotions, knowledge and information between two or more than two persons. Now we are going to discuss the characteristics or nature of communication. Some of the important characteristics of the communication are: there must be two or more than two persons. The first important characteristic of communication is that there must be a minimum number of two persons, because no single individual can have an exchange of ideas with himself. A listener is necessary to receive one's ideas. Therefore, there must be at least two persons, the sender of information and the receiver. Then next feature is the exchange of ideas. Communication cannot be thought of in the absence of exchange of ideas. In order to complete the process of communication, there must be an exchange of idea, any order, feeling, message between two or more than two persons. Next feature is mutual understanding. Mutual understanding means that the receiver should receive the information in the same spirit with which it is being given. In the process of communication, it is more important to understand the information rather than carry it out. Then next feature is the direct and indirect communication. It is not necessary in communication that the receiver and giver of the information should be face to face with each other. Communication can be both direct and indirect. Next feature is the continuous process. Communication is an endless process, as is the case with business, where the manager continuously assigns works to his subordinates, try to know the progress of the work and give time to time various directions. The next feature is use of words as well as symbols. There can be many means of communication like the written, oral communication, and sometimes it may be the non-verbal communication. The examples of symbolic communication are the ringing of bell for closing a school or a college, saying something by the movement of the neck, showing anger, etc. The communication process has been shown. First of all, there will be a message, then sender will be there. In this process, encoding, decoding will be there, medium will be there, and feedback will be there. Sometimes in communication process there may be a hurdle which is called noise. We are going to discuss the importance of communication. Coordination. To fulfill the objective of the organization, coordination among the employee is necessary, and to coordinate various activities, communication is essential. Corporate organizations, being large in size, division of work and specialization in activities are the characteristics of such organization. So communication helps to coordinate such activities and develop cooperation. Then second importance is the interaction with the outside world. In a corporate organization, communication with the external people such as customers, vendors, investors, competitors, government department, etc. are essential. Even connecting links with the foreign counterparts and centers are necessary for proper functioning of the organization. Importance is motivation. Communication helps to motivate the employees to obey the orders and directives of the management authority. The feedback of the employees also enlightens the managers. The interaction between the managers and the employees improves the relation between them and encourages all the devote themselves fully to achieve the objective of the organizations. Efficient management. Communication supplies the managers and employees with the information, coordinates and motivates the employees. This results in cooperation and better performance. It resolves the conflicts, builds confidence, and ultimately develops efficient management. The managers, supervisors, executives get instructions, orders, messages, etc. from their superiors through communication. Thus, communication stimulates efficient management. Next one is the decision making and implementation. The success of any corporate organization depends largely upon decision making. Right decision making depends upon correct and timely information which is obtained only through communication. Again, implementation of the decision requires proper communication. The managers convey the procedure of implementing the decision through communication channels and evaluate the work of the employees. Thus, corporate communication has a meaningful role in decision making and its implementation. Then next importance is in the form of leadership. The manager communicates orders and instructions to the subordinates, who in turn carry out the instruction and sometimes send feedback in the form of suggestions, grievances and complaints. The manager tries to remove the inconvenience as far as possible. The entire process establishes the basis of leadership. Lack of communication creates distrust, doubts and misunderstanding among the subordinates. Proper communication helps to remove them and create an environment of mutual cooperation, trust, dependence and ultimately achieve acceptance of the leadership of the official head. Then discipline and peace. Maintenance of discipline in large corporate sector is difficult. to control over a large number of managers and employees. It is not an easy task, but regular communication between the management authority and the workers create a healthy human relation and sense of cooperation, assistance and unity. Thus, it is also helpful in maintaining the discipline and peace within the organization. Training. Communication is necessary in imparting training to the managers, supervisors, executives, and general employees to upgrade their knowledge and skill of performance in order to meet the needs of the changing corporate world. This may include training in the field of science and technology, upgradation of technology, development of management skill, and even training in learning a language for the communication. Then slide number 14. Now we are going to discuss the cross-cultural communication. Communication is simply the process of transferring meanings from sender to receiver. On the surface, this appears to be a fairly straightforward process. On analysis, however, there are a great many problems in the cross-cultural communication that result in the failure to transfer meaning correctly. Communication may be verbal or non-verbal. Verbal communication. Context plays a very important role in explaining the cross-cultural communication. Context is information that surrounds a communication that helps in conveying the message. The concept of high and low context culture relates to how an employee's thoughts, opinions, feelings, and upbringing affect how they act within a given culture. In high context cultures like areas in the Middle East, Asia, and Africa, the main focus is on interpersonal relationships. Individuals from high context culture might be interested in getting to know the person they are conducting business with in order to get a feeling on the decision making. They may also be more concerned about business teams and group success rather than individual achievement. In North America and Western Europe are generally considered to have low context cultures. This means that businesses in these places have direct, individualistic employees who tend to base decisions on facts. This type of business person wants specified noted in contracts and may have issued with trust. The different styles of verbal communication. It may be indirect and direct. In high context cultures, messages are indirect because those who are communicating, family, friends, co-workers, clients, tend to have interpersonal relationships and large information networks. As a result, each knows a lot about in the communication network. Facial expression, voice tone, timing also plays very important role in communication. In low context cultures, people meet only to accomplish the objectives. As they do not know each other very well, they tend to be direct and focused in their communications. If there is a meeting and someone asks to attend this meeting, in a high context culture, it will be asked that who will be at this meeting. On the other hand, in a low context culture, the individual is likely to ask what is the meeting is going to be about. Elaborate, exacting and concise. Verbal communication. In high context society, the elaborate style is often very common. There is a great deal of talking, description includes much detail, and people often repeat themselves. This elaborate style is widely used in Arabic countries. The exacting style is more common in nations such as England, Germany, and Sweden, to name three. This style concentrates on precision and the use of the right amount of words to convey the message. The concise style is most common in Asian countries, where people tend to say few words and allow understatements and silence to convey meaning. Elaborating style is more popular in high context cultures that have a moderate degree of uncertainty. The exacting style is more common in low context cultures. The brief style is more common in high context culture with considerable uncertainty avoidance. Next style of verbal communication is the contextual and personal. A contextual style is one that concentrate on the speaker and relationship of the parties. Like in Asian cultures, people use words that reflect the role and organizational relationship of those in the conversation. In Japan, the middle management employees, who are commonly known as salarymen, quickly learn how to communicate with others in the organization by understanding the context and reference group of the other party. A personal style concentrate on the speaker and the reduction of barriers between the parties. In the United States, for example, it is common to use first names and to address others informally and directly on an equal basis. Contextual style is often associated with high power distance, collective high context culture like Japan, India, etc. In contrast, the personal style is more popular in low power distance, individualistic, low context culture like United States, Australia and Canada. Fourth style of verbal communication is the affective and instrumental. The affective style is characterized by language that requires the listener to carefully note what is being said and to observe how the sender is presenting the message. The instrumental style is goal oriented and concentrate on the sender. The individual clearly lets the other party know what he or she wants clearly to say. The affective style is common in collective high context culture such as Middle East, Latin American and Asian countries. The instrumental style is more commonly found in low context culture such as Switzerland, Denmark and the United States. Flow of communication. In international organizations, the flow of communication may be downward or upward. However, there may be some unique differences in communication throughout the world. First of all, there is the downward communication. Downward communication is the transmission of information from manager to subordinate. The primary purpose of the manager initiated communication flow is to convey orders and information. Managers use this channel to let their people know what is to be done and how well they are doing. The channel facilitates the flow of information to those who need it for operational purposes. In Asian countries, as noted earlier, downward communication is less direct than in the United States. Orders tend to be implicit in nature. Conversely, in some European countries, downward communication is not only direct but extends beyond business matters. In international communication, use the most common words with their common meanings, strictly follow the rules of grammar and speak with clear breaks between the words for effective and clear message. Then second type of communication is the upward communication. Upward communication is the transfer of information from subordinate to the superior. The primary purpose of this subordinate initiated upward communication is to provide feedback, ask questions, or obtain assistance from higher level management. In recent years, there has been a call for and a concerted effort to promote more upward communication in the United States. In other countries such as in Japan, Hong Kong and Singapore, upward communication has long been a fact of life. Managers in these countries have extensively used suggestion systems and quality circles to get employee input and always are available to listen to their people's concerns. Outside the Asian countries, upward communication is not as popular. For example, in South America, many managers believe that employees should follow orders and not ask a lot of questions. German managers also make much less use of this form of communication. Barriers in communication. There may be the different types of barrier in communication, and first of all there is the language barriers. Knowledge of the home country's language, or in other words the language which is used at the headquarter of the MNC, is important for personnel placed in a foreign project. If manager do not understand the language that is used at headquarters, they likely will make a wide assortment of errors. Additionally, many MNCs now prescribe English as the common language for internal communication so that managers can more easily convey information to their counterparts in different areas. Despite such progress, however, language training continues to lag in many areas, although in an increasing number of European countries. Then, second barrier is the cultural barriers. Every culture has a different set of values, business ethics, accepted behavior, and decorum, even different facial expressions and gestures. It is important to understand these differences to show the respect for other culture during communication with professionals. For example, in the United States, it is common for the speaker to share personal experiences to build audience relationship, but in other countries this is considered annoying. Middle Eastern countries notes that people there do not relate to and communicate with each other in a loose, general way as does in the United States. Relationships are more intense and binding in the Middle East countries, and a wide variety of work related values influence what people in the Middle East will and will not do. Another culture value example is the way that people use time. In the United States, people believe that time is an asset and is not to be wasted. This is an idea that has limited meaning in some other countries. Perceptual barriers. Perception is a person's view of reality. How people see reality can vary and will influence their judgment and decision making. One example involves Japanese stockbrokers who perceived that the chance of improving their career would be better with US firms, so they changed their jobs. Another involves Hong Kong hoteliers who began buying US properties because they had the perception that if they could offer the same top quality hotel service as back home, they could dominate their US markets. These are some of the examples of how perceptions can play an important role in international communication. Non-verbal communication. Another major reasons for the perception problem is accounted for non-verbal communication, which is the transfer of meaning through means such as body language and use of physical space. First of all, there is the kinesics. Kinesics is the study of communication through body movement and facial expressions. Primary area of concern include eye contact, posture, gestures, etc. For example, when one communicates verbally with someone in the United States, it is good manner to look the other persons in the eye. This area of communicating through the use of eye contact and gaze is known as oculesics. In some areas of the world, oculesics is an important consideration because of what people should not do, such as stare at others or maintain continuous eye contact, because it is considered rude to do these things. Another area of kinesics is posture, which can also cause problem. For example, when Americans are engaged in prolonged negotiations or meetings, it is not uncommon for them to relax and put their feet up on a chair or desk, but this is insulting behavior in the Middle East. Gestures are also widely used and take many different forms. For example, Canadians shake hands, Japanese bow, Middle Easterns of the same sex kiss on the cheek. Communicating through the use of bodily contact is known as haptics, and it is widely used form of non-verbal communication. Next barrier in communication is proxemics. Proxemics is the study of the way that people use physical space to convey message. For example, in the United States, there are 4 distances people use in communicating on a face-to-face basis. Intimate distance is used for very confidential communication. Personal distance is used for talking with family and close friends. Social distance is used to handle most business transactions. Public distance is used when calling across the room or giving a talk to a group. One major problem for Americans communicating with people from the Middle East or South America is that the intimate or personal distance zones are violated. Americans often tend to be moving away in interpersonal communication with their Latin counterparts, while the latter are trying to physically close the gap. The American cannot understand why the other is standing so close. The latter cannot understand why the American is being so reserved and standing so far away. The result is a breakdown in communication. Office layout is another good example of proxemics. In the United States, the more important the manager, the larger the office, and often a secretary screens visitors and keeps away those whom the manager do not wish to see. In Japan, most managers do not have large offices, and even if they do, they spend a great deal of time out of the office with their employees. Thus, the Japanese have no trouble to communicate directly with superiors. A Japanese manager staying in his office would be viewed as a sign of distrust or anger towards the group. Next barrier in communication is the chronemics. It refers to the way in which time is used in a culture. There are 2 types of time schedules, monochronic and polychronic. A monochronic time schedule is one in which things are done in a linear fashion. A manager will address issue A first and then move on to the next B issue. In these societies, time schedules are very important, and time is viewed as something that can be controlled and should be used wisely. In individualistic cultures such as United States, Britain, Canada and Australia, monochronic time schedule is adopted. Polychronic time schedule, which are characterized by people tending to several things at the same time and placing higher value on personal involvement on getting things done on time. In these cultures, schedules are subordinated to personal relationships. Then next barrier in communication is the chromatics. Chromatics is the use of color to communicate message. Every society uses chromatics, but colors that means one thing in the United States may mean something entirely different in Asia. For example, in the United States, it is common to wear black when one is in mourning, while in some locations in India, people wear white when they are in mourning. In Hong Kong, red is used to signify happiness or luck, and traditional bridal dresses are red. In the United States, it is common for the bride to wear white. In many Asian countries, shampoos are dark in color because users want to soap to be that same color as their hair and believe that if it were a light color, it would remove color from their hair. In the United States, shampoos tend to be light in color because people see this as a sign of cleanliness and hygiene. Knowing the importance of chromatics can be very helpful because, among other things, it can avoid the problem creating situations. Effective communication. A number of steps may be taken to improve cross cultural communication, and these are discussed below. Number 1 step is improve feedback system. One of the most important ways of improving communication effectiveness in the international context is to open up feedback system. Feedback is particularly important between parent companies and their affiliates. There are two basic types of feedback system. First is personal, like face-to-face meetings, telephone conversations, and personalized email, and second is impersonal, like reports, budgets, and plans. Both of these systems help affiliates to keep their home office aware of progress and in turn help the home officer to monitor and control affiliate performance as well as set goals and standards. Second step is provide language training. Besides improving feedback system, another way to make communication more effective in the cross-cultural communication is through language training. Many host country managers cannot communicate well with their counterparts at headquarters because English has become the international language of business. Those who are not native speakers of English should learn the language well enough so that face to face and telephone conversations and email are possible. If the language of the home office is not English, this other language also should be learned. As a US manager working for a Japanese MNC recently told one that the official international language of this company is English. However, whenever the home office people show up, they tend to cluster together with their countrymen and speak Japanese. That is why I am trying to learn Japanese. Let us face it. They say all you need to know is English, but if you want to really know what is going on, you have to talk their language. Then third step is to know about the culture. It is very difficult to communicate effectively with someone from another culture unless at least one party has some understanding of the other's culture. Otherwise, communication likely will break down. This is particularly important for multinational companies that have operations throughout the world. Although there always are important differences between countries and even between subcultures of the same country, firms that operate in South America find that the culture of these countries have certain commonalities. These common factors also apply to Spain and Portugal. Therefore, a basic understanding of Latin cultures can prove to be useful throughout a large region of the world. The same is true of Anglo cultures, where norms and values tend to be somewhat similar from one country to another. When a multinational has operations in South America, Europe, and Asia, however, multicultural training becomes necessary. Then the next step is increase flexibility and cooperation. Effective international communications require increased flexibility and cooperation by all parties. To improve understanding and cooperation, each party must be prepared to give a little. Take the case of International Computers Limited, a mainframe computer firm that does a great deal of business in Japan. This firm urges its people to strive for successful collaboration in their international partnerships and ventures. Finally, in conclusion, we can say that communication is the transfer of meaning from sender to receiver. The key to the effectiveness of communication is how accurately the receiver interprets the intended meaning. Communicating in the international business context involves both downward and upward flows. The international arena contains a number of communication barriers. Some of the most important are language, perception, culture, and non-verbal communication. Language, particularly in written communications, often loses considerable meaning during interpretation. Perception and culture can result in people seeing and interpreting things differently, and as a result, communication can break down. Non-verbal communication such as body language, facial expressions, and use of physical space, time, and even color often varies from country to country. And if improper, often results in communication problems. A number of steps can be taken to improve communication effectiveness. Some of the most important include improving feedback, providing language and cultural training, and encouraging flexibility and cooperation. These steps can be particularly helpful in overcoming communication barriers in the international context and can lead to more effective international management and communication. Thank you.